What's happening, everybody? I'm Charles Maring, and I am a photographer, filmmaker, and a Lumix ambassador, and I am out here today with the new Lumix S5, putting it through the paces out in the real world. I thought together we could explore a little bit, go into some of the menu, talk about some of the features, and share some of my favorite aspects about this really amazing new mirrorless camera. The Lumix S5 features a 24 megapixel CMOS sensor. And there's no anti-aliasing filter, which means it renders incredibly sharp photographs and video clips. The first time you dive into the menu system, you're going to see that this camera is incredibly feature-rich. And it's incredibly easy to navigate because it's organized by tabs. So whether you're working in stills or in video, it's really easy to find your way. And you can easily create your own custom menu using the My Menu settings as well. When it comes to autofocus for stills, you're really going to appreciate its speed and accuracy. There are many different autofocus modes to choose from, but one of my favorites is their face and body detect. As you can see here, it tracks the subject beautifully even when we're photographing full-length portraits. One of the coolest features of the modern mirrorless camera is the fact that they have incredibly detailed electronic viewfinders built into them, and the S5 is no different. What's amazing about it and why so many people are switching over from DSLRs to mirrorless is it's really WYSIWYG. It's what you see is what you get. Whether you're checking your white balance, whether you're checking your ISO or shutter speed or f-stop for that matter, it allows you to see exactly what your exposure is going to be before you click that button. So yes, the Lumix S5 has a 24 megapixel sensor, but it also has pixel shift technology built inside as well, which offers a high resolution mode that allows landscape photographers, architectural photographers, or even portrait photographers in some instances, as long as their subject stays incredibly still, to capture 96 megapixel files coming out of this camera. It basically takes multiple photographs all at once and then stitches them together in camera. You can create a RAW file or a JPEG, and I'm out here today working in this beautiful light and accentuating that photograph and that portrait I'm creating with some continuous light from a Stella CLX10. It's really cool that you can actually do this all in camera, but of course you'll need a tripod to do so. There are just times when resolution is king, anytime we want to print photographs extremely large. And as we zoom into this particular photograph to 100%, you'll see the detail in the subject and the trees from left to right in foreground and in background are incredibly detailed. We don't always need 96 megapixel files, but it sure is nice to know there's a high resolution mode built into the S5 for any time we do want maximum resolution. Let's dive into some of the specs. The S5 is definitely a hybrid camera, offering 7 frames of continuous shooting. It's also packed with expressive video functions, and this 24 megapixel full-frame CMOS sensor offers a remarkable dynamic range with its dual native ISO. The S5 is compact and lightweight. It actually has a smaller footprint than Lumix G series Micro Four Thirds cameras, and it features Panasonic's legendary 5-axis image stabilization. There's plenty of video options to choose from, and real-time autofocus detection technology. You'll also find direct access to both slow and quick mode recording, along with a fully articulating LCD and an OLED viewfinder. It's both dust and splash resistant, offers 2 SD card slots, USB, battery charge and power supply, Bluetooth to your mobile device, mic in, headphones, and an optional XLR adapter. There's also a large selection of L-mount glass already available. Let's take a look at some of the other features and share some video footage we've captured. So one of the great things about the Lumix S5 is it is a very powerful video camera as well. It does 4K 60p, but at an APS-C crop, but you can actually go full-blown uncropped 4K at 24 and 30p as well. I love that it's a smaller, more lightweight camera than the other S series of cameras from Lumix, and that means I can get out on a gimbal and have it not weighing me down overly heavily all day, and there's a flip-out screen which makes it easier for seeing your footage or flipping it into selfie mode. You can work in 8-bit if you're doing long-form recording, meaning a wedding ceremony or an event that requires you to record more than 30 minutes, and there are no overheating problems whatsoever regardless of how you film on this camera. There's also a 10-bit mode, and we're out here today in the woods testing out its vlog performance in both 8-bit and 10-bit modes. I'll put the information in text below of when I'm shooting what. But you can take a look at this footage and see that it's really clean. I'm working at ISO 640, and tonight we'll get out and test the dual ISO as well and push it up to 4000 and see how that performs as well. So highly powerful video camera that's going to be on par in terms of the look of the S1H or S1 full-blown vlog, which is going to also have the same maximum dynamic range that you would get out of their highly acclaimed cinema cameras like the VariCam. Having a full version of vlog is a beautiful thing, because in moments like this where Jennifer's walking through the woods and it's a very contrasty scene where sometimes she's in the shade and sometimes in full sun, it allows us to have a little bit of forgiveness on exposure and the ability to grade it any way that we like later in post. Also, on another note, I'm using the face and body autofocus mode on the Lumix S5 in this particular situation, and it seems to be keeping up just fine. This is an exciting improvement for Lumix, and I can't wait to put this through the paces more. The 8-bit footage at 24p looked fantastic, but now you're actually witnessing 10-bit footage at 4K 60p. It's actually very difficult to see the difference. However, I did notice just a little bit more detail in the highlights when I was working in 10-bit mode. Truth be told, I hardly felt the difference between working in full frame or working with the APS-C crop. The 60p footage was graceful when slowed down, and all I know is both 8-bit and 10-bit footage looked really great to me. It's nice to know the ability to work in 10-bit is there, but it's also nice to know I can work long form for weddings and events and work in 8-bit mode when I need an unlimited record time. So one of the great features about the Lumix S5 is that it does have dual native ISO. Earlier we were working at 640 ISO, and now we're pushing it all the way to 4000, and it should render a really clean file out here at night. The other cool feature that I'd like to bring up is the fact that it does have a red record frame around your actual image on the LCD and in the LVF inside, which means you know when you were recording that you were actually recording. So now we're filming at ISO 4000 utilizing the kit lens. That's a 20-60 3.5 5.6 lens. The beauty of being able to push all the way to ISO 4000 with the dual native ISO is that yes, even lenses like a 3.5 5.6 lens outdoors at night on the city streets really works out just fine in terms of the amount of light. The autofocus and subject is being tracked utilizing the face and body detect mode, and it seems to hold up really well with this particular lens. In terms of color, yes, we're working in Vlog in 8-bit mode here, and I've applied the Panasonic Vlog LUT. For those that are looking to capture video in a cinematic way and have maximum dynamic range, the S5 is really a pleasure to work with. Also, for those who really do love cinema, keep in mind that there are anamorphic modes built into this camera body as well, so you can utilize anamorphic lenses for that extreme widescreen look. And there's more. Panasonic recently announced that they're bringing 5.9K output over HDMI via the Atomos Ninja 5 with an upcoming firmware update. The art of photography and video are merging in so many amazing ways due to the advent of the mirrorless camera. These days, I never know what the next phone call is going to bring. Sometimes I'm hired to create still photographs, other times I'm hired for video production. And either way, it's nice to know that a camera like the Lumix S5 can allow me to do both incredibly well. And so there you have it, the Lumix S5, an incredibly small and lightweight camera body that is full frame, that has a lot of power in it, whether you want to photograph with stills or capture video as well. To learn more, make sure to visit shop.panasonic.com/Lumix S5.